Right, thanks everyone. So this is how we'll do today's workshop. I've got six things to get through. So first off, I'm going to talk about what is feedback, what actually is feedback. Then we're going to talk about ways that you can manage your feedback, and then also ways that you respond to the feedback that you're given. There will be an opportunity for a breakout room chat. We like to give students the opportunity to do that. Sometimes you may not have brushed your hair, or you may be in your pajamas and you want to have your camera off. That's fine. If you want to stay in the lobby with me, that's also fine as well. It'll just be for about 10 minutes. But those of you who do want to meet others in your cohort, it's a great opportunity in these types of sessions to do that. And then I thought I'd talk a little bit about meetings and just a couple of tips for what you can do before your meeting, during your meeting, and after your meeting. And then I'll end with some final tips. Okay, so that's the structure. All right, so first off is, what does becoming a researcher mean? So we talk about, I'm going to talk to you about feedback in the context of being a researcher. So let's do that. And I do use this slide in other workshops that I deliver, but I think it's really important that you all remember that you are becoming a researcher. That means that you are becoming an expert in your field. In fact, your expertise will surpass that of your supervisors because your research is original and you'll be contributing to this discourse community, we call it. So it's really important that you keep that in mind. And if I put my language and learning educator hat on, my writing teacher's hat, I want to remind you that as you're becoming that expert, you need to explicitly write that in your document as well. You know, you need to continually say this novel research, this original research, because that's what your research is. So you're becoming that expert, you're creating that depth of knowledge, you're using that critical voice. So that also, with my educator hat on, that means that when you're looking at the literature of others, you're critically analyzing it. You're not just describing it, okay? And I do obviously talk about this a lot more in other workshops that deal with writing, but this is a good opportunity to remind you of that as well. So instead of being this invisible scholar, which people talk about, what you're doing is you're engaging with the literature and the discourse community that you are becoming a part of. So you're not simply expressing your own ideas, you're doing so as a response to what others have said. And you ultimately, as a researcher, you are contributing to the literature by joining in the conversation. And then in the end, ultimately, also you will have advanced and contributed to new knowledge. So this is what is happening to you throughout your journey as a researcher. As you are on this journey and adding to the content and expertise in your field, you're also learning skills. So I'm not sure, let me have a look at the names here. Who's new to QT, who's been here for a while. But what we do in the GRED team is we have this skills assessment tool, and we have created these 12 skills that we believe researchers should have. And hopefully you're all aware of this, and you will have done this in your AIRS course. I also found this document. I will be sending out these slides later, and these are all clickable links for you. They talk about all the different learning, transferable and professional skills that you're learning along the way. And they talk about written communication, research, public speaking, project management, leadership, critical thinking, collaboration. This article refers to these 7. I'll just go back. Obviously, here we have 12 of them, but ways that you can engage and learn these skills as well as your own topic is by participating in our eGrad school. I might just ask anyone who's there in the chat, just let me know, has anybody done any of these eGrad school modules, and could you let us know which one and what you thought of it, or could you recommend any of them? But these modules, the last module for the year is currently in week 2, so it's too late to get involved this year, but we will have a new 2023. Hi, Michael, what could you tell us which module you did? Maybe if you can remember the title. My next slide, excuse me. This was the 2022 calendar. The 2023 calendar is coming soon. Aaron did the public policy one. Yes, there's so many good ones. Currently 2B is underway. Research integrity and practice. I'm participating in that one. And the mental wellbeing for researchers. So please come along and remember that as a researcher, you are learning all these skills as well. And the good news about these eGrad School modules is QT covers the cost, the enrollment cost for you. They're students from other universities as well, and you have an opportunity to meet them too. All right, so here we go. We're getting down to the topic at hand. What is feedback? So I want to remind you that feedback to the HDR student is not like other feedback. Feedback, ready? I'm going to say this slowly. Feedback is an inevitable part of academia. It's really important that you understand that your supervisor is not only helping you to develop your research and helping you to make that original contribution to the field, but their role is also to develop you as a researcher. So there really is an active process of teaching, training, and developing you to become an independent researcher as you're becoming an expert in your field. So if there's a bit of a hands-off approach from them sometimes, that's the reason why. It's part of the learning process. Probably that's why you're here today, because you want to learn more about it. It is inevitable. So your role then, and a key skill for you, is to ask for feedback properly and then also deal with the feedback given to you. So that's what we'll be covering today. I also want to let you know that I actually deliver a workshop similar to this workshop. It actually mirrors this workshop to supervisors. And so a lot of what I say to you is what I say to them. And in fact, I do it in the same week. So I just delivered this feedback workshop to supervisors on Monday. And I remind them as well that effective feedback is two-way. It's a two-way street. It cannot be one-sided. It requires partnership, interaction, and dialogue. So the supervisor's role, and this is one of the slides I give them, is to guide you from being a novice to the expert. They're training you to become independent. They're guiding you to engage in critical reflection, synthesis, and evaluation. They're guiding you to generate original knowledge so that you can make that original contribution, which is the ultimate goal of a higher degree research degree. And then also, hopefully, they're helping you to develop your other skills, which I mentioned earlier, those transferable skills like time management and others, okay? So another slide I pass on to your supervisors. It's two-way, and we'll talk about airtime soon. And I really talked to the supervisors about the importance of realizing how much you talk in a meeting, and I'll go into that in more detail later. I remind them, and I want you to know that it's not just teacher commentary, okay? Feedback is how you, the student, generate, how you make sense of, and how you use the feedback that you get for ongoing improvement. This is really important, so I've highlighted it. You have to be an active feedback agent, and I'm going to talk to you soon about ways that you can get the feedback that you want. When you get that feedback and you take it on board, it can lead to change in behavior, cognition, motivation, and attitude. It's not a product, it's a process. And the good news is, or maybe the surprising news is, it's driven by you, okay? And I think it's also probably important, and I didn't have that in this slide, but it's important to know your supervisors well and get the feedback from the supervisor who has the strength in the knowledge that you're after. We all have 2 or 3 supervisors, and perhaps there's one that's better at a certain topic than another, or maybe more responsive. So you also need to know which supervisor to get that information from. You're driving this whole show. So you really can help your supervisor give you the feedback you want. And I think I have this on another slide, but I will say it again. I think it's really important for you to remember as well, when students come along to this degree, they're so excited and motivated and they've got so much energy, they want to get in and get research done. And they think, oh, I've got this wonderful supervisor, they're going to help me and lead me. Really, I want you to understand that you are the person that has to maintain and care for your supervisor. That's your job. It's not their job to care for you. I'll be talking to you about how to manage up. But really, really take this on board right now. It's your job to care for and maintain the relationship that you have with your supervisor. So many students say to me, my supervisor is so busy. My supervisor doesn't have time to see me. Well, it's really your job to organize that as well. All right, so I'm just going to also share this document with you. This is the Good Practice Guidelines for Higher Degree Research Studies and Supervision. I've just highlighted a bit for you. And again, there's clickable links here for you when you get these slides. This document's endorsed by the GRC. The highlighted part states it's the responsibility of the candidate to take the initiative in raising problems or difficulties, however elementary they may seem, and sharing responsibility for seeking solutions. In actual fact, I think that I can put the link into the chat. Let's see if that works. I'm here by myself, so I'm monitoring the chat as well. If there is something important you want to say, please just put your mic on in case I miss anything. Hopefully that has worked for you. All right, so I found this quote powerful. I'm very interested in the whole concept of feedback, and I thought it's important to share this quote with you. The most powerful single influence on achievement is feedback. And I share this with your supervisors as well. And I say to them, this is the reason that you need to get it right. And this is common in the literature. They say this all the time, how important feedback is. All right, so I'd just like to talk to you a little bit about developing a feedback process. There's another document that you can find. Again, these are all clickable links for developing a feedback process. They talk about goals, and this document has short-term goals outlined, long-term goals outlined. I might just quickly read them for you if you don't mind. So the process is the short-term goals that you need to discuss at the beginning. And if you're halfway through candidature and you feel like you skipped this and you missed it, it's never too late. Talk about the processes for monitoring your progress, the regularity of meetings, and how formal they are. I always bring a coffee to my supervisors when I have a meeting, but that's just sort of a tradition that started. The purpose and agenda of the meetings, who will be in the meetings, and do you want all of them? Do you want your lead principal supervisor only? The processes of monitoring the effectiveness of meetings, ethical clearances, university requirements, and then also departmental requirements. Then this particular document, again, also outlines long-term goals that you can discuss. For example, excuse me. Oh, yes, I am changing the slide, sorry. Okay, hopefully you're able to see the slides. The long-term goals are articulation of topic, the research questions, which should be looked at over and over and over, the methodology, refer back to it constantly, your literature review, which will change constantly, project design, implementation, the writing of the thesis, publications is a subject unto itself, lots of information. I might just ask, is there anybody here who's doing a thesis by publication? You can just put it into the chat if you like. If you're doing thesis by publication, or if you're doing, or if you are publishing throughout, there's lots of guidelines on our website, QUT website for you. If you're interested and you can't find it, please contact me directly and I can guide you to that. So Khalid, this is an important part for you to have those discussions about publications as well. And obviously it's determined by how much each supervisor contributes to it. One of the modules, I think it's research integrity in practice, one of the eGrad School modules goes into detail about that as well. Okay, sure. I'll see. You know what I might do is at the end, when I do a follow-up email, I'll send a link to everybody about information for publications. And I guess it is important for everyone because hopefully you will all publish from your thesis, your monograph, and it's important to have that discussion. You need to have that discussion with your supervisors. Put it on the table, make sure everybody's clear because it can lead to trouble, relationship problems, and it's better if it's all out. And there's actually places, there's documents for people to sign as well. All right, so I have a question that I'm just going to pose to all of you. If you could put it into the chat. Is there anything that prevents you from asking for feedback? Is there any feeling that you have? Just let me know in the chat, maybe. Or put your mic on if you like. My pleasure, Khalid. Aaron saying, well, it's actually, I hadn't thought of that, but he's nervous that there may be more work involved. And Chamilka, excuse me, my eyesight is so bad, is saying it may be a bother to the supervisors. And, this is a common comment from students as well. My supervisor's so busy, or, I'm afraid to ask. Okay. Yes, everybody, we all have these feelings, but you need to, in English, we say bite the bullet and do that. So what we'll do, please feel free to continue to write in the chat, any comment, any feedback, that's fine. So we're going to talk about managing feedback, and we're going to talk, I've tried to break it up into how, when, and why we should ask for feedback. Okay, so let's see, we'll try and do that. So, but before we begin, I want to assure you that it's completely normal to feel nervous about showing someone your writing and then also asking feedback. It's like it becomes your baby. You're so protective of it. You love the sentence that you've written. You're so nervous about what they're going to say. We all have these feelings. It's perhaps a fear of negative feedback, or it's a fear of criticism that stops us from showing our work to people. Perhaps you've had an unpleasant experience in the past when you've received feedback, and that might make you reluctant to put yourself forward again. But we need feedback to improve the quality of our writing. So if you're nervous, I just want you to know we all are. Brooke has said she's worried it's already been said or covered. Yes. Oh my goodness, that's true. And sometimes that's okay. We need to repeat. We need to be reminded. Megumi says, I feel like my main supervisor gives feedback without reading my work. And that's also a common complaint, Megumi. I once had a student who said to me, she turned up to a meeting and the supervisor said, what's your topic again? And she was devastated because she couldn't believe that the supervisor didn't even remember her topic. But I guess the supervisor had lots of students and was just sort of saying what was on her mind, on the supervisor's mind. And it ended up really fracturing the relationship as well. So this is a common complaint. All right, so when your supervisor says, this needs work, please improve this could be better, this is not clear, this is great, or they strike through a whole paragraph, it is stressful for the students. Students can be confused, they can be overwhelmed, and they stop writing. And then what happens is there's a lot of self-doubt. So I stress this again to your supervisors, and I say, you cannot give vague comments. You need to say, this needs work because your theoretical framework is unclear, or you need to give specific comments. So today I'm asking you to also ask for specific comments. So I'm going to walk through some ways on how to ask for feedback. All right. So firstly, what we can do is ask those specific questions. So I don't know if you out there all realize, but part of my role, so I deliver workshops and I also do one-to-one sessions with students. Sometimes a student will come to me in a one-to-one, they'll send me an entire chapter and say, see you soon. And then, you know, I'm stuck. I don't have time to read an entire chapter. What is it exactly in this chapter they want me to look at? So I write back, I send them an email and say, you know, thank you for sending through your writing. Can you please outline which pages, what is it exactly you want me to look? You need to give me guidelines, and you need to do that for your supervisors as well. Hopefully when you leave today, this one thing will stay in your mind. Asking specific questions of your supervisors is a way you can get the feedback that you want. So Megumi, if you feel that your supervisor is not reading it, if you ask your supervisor, please check the 3 paragraphs in section 3.3, and can you, so not only are you guiding them to which paragraphs, could you tell me, and I'm going to talk to you about a feedback hierarchy soon, but you're going to ask them the specific questions that you want. Okay, so I found these questions, early stage questions. These are just examples. I'm not even going to read them to you. And then we have proposal writing questions. Don't worry, I'll be sending these slides out to you. Then we have chapter 1, literature review, conceptual framework questions. Okay. See how specific the questions are. Keep in mind too, if you ask questions that are do, are, or can, they require yes or no answers. So we want those open-ended questions like WH questions, where, why, how. Okay, so you'll get a longer response if you give those more open-ended questions. So Michael has put in the chat that he's terrified of not meeting the standards of the supervisor. And this is also so common, Michael. This comes down to imposter syndrome and, about having your confidence. And I'll talk to you about that, about building resilience later as well. And trust me, we all have it. Everybody has it. There's a really great video that I'll try and remember. Let me put this in the chat. Maya Angelou YouTube. I'll remind myself to send this to you. There's this great video about Einstein and Maya Angelou, who also had, self-doubt. And we all start somewhere, and your supervisor started somewhere as well. So, don't have that self-doubt. Okay, so I'm going to introduce you to this. So this is the feedback hierarchy. I've taken this from ThinkWell. ThinkWell is a fantastic resource for supervisors. I think this can make that into a clickable link for you. And if you haven't already seen ThinkWell, please go and have a look at it. So these are the type of questions that we can ask. So there's 6 steps, and I've broken it down each step. So step 1. That's at the bottom. So at the bottom, we have the most basic feedback that you can ask for. And that is spelling, grammar, maybe the layout, the formatting. I'm here to tell you, step 1 questions should not be asked to your supervisor. They should never have to address spelling, grammar, layout, and formatting. This is your job to get it right. So step 1 does not belong in any questions for your supervisors. Actually, I think it's happened a couple of times. Kerry and I, we're the writing support people in GRED. We've received emails from students the night before. Could you please help me to format my document? My thesis is due tomorrow. And the answer is no, we cannot help you to do that because that's your job. Part of being a researcher is seeking out the answers, okay? So please also take that away with you today. It's your job to make sure that the document not just even the spelling, it's the font. How often do I see students with different fonts, different sizes, no page numbers? The presentation of the document is really important. And if a supervisor or even an examiner sees that straight from the start, they're going to, be dubious about the quality of the content if you can't get the presentation right. So that's your job. Step 1 is your job. Paragraph, step 2. So this is where you can start to ask those specific questions to your supervisor. So the paragraph, if you come to my other workshops about writing, I talk about the fact that one paragraph needs to have one idea. When I read students' paragraphs, they have these topic sentences, and I think, okay, this paragraph is about, society's problems, let's say. And then I get down here and then it starts talking about the history of something, and it talks about something else. That is not one idea. So what you can ask, perhaps you've tried to make it into one idea, or your supervisor might be saying to you, your writing's not cohesive, you need more cohesion. So what you can do is you can say to your supervisor, please look at these 3 paragraphs, excuse me, in section 3.3. Are they cohesive? Whatever questions you want about that particular paragraph. And I promise you, your supervisor will appreciate those specific questions. Oh, you guys are writing to each other. Excellent. Oh, Aaron, I'm so sorry when I hear students hear really negative feedback, not PhD standard writing. Yes, it's a common comment as well, which is really demotivating. Coming along to all of the workshops and events that we have in GRED can help you as well, because academic writing is a skill. It's not something, even if you're a good writer. I've had a student who was a great blogger, but just couldn't, the academic style sort of stumped her a little bit. You need to come along and learn how to do that. All right, I'll just keep going. Step 3 is the structure and flow of the text. So, for example, you can ask your supervisor, please look at the structure and flow. Can the reader follow the flow? Do the sections and do the paragraphs flow? Do you think I need to reorder this section? Should I reorganize these paragraphs? You could even ask them, is the writing too wordy? Is it too simple? Is it too short? Ask those specific questions of your supervisors. The next one is the, so in this step here, we're sort of moving away from the words, and now we're focusing more on the content and the argument. And this is what, this is the expertise of your supervisors. So what you can ask them, is there a logical flow? Is my argument coherent? Because often examiners will say that you don't have a coherent document. Every chapter doesn't connect. Your research questions, the thread is not there. So you can ask your supervisors to support you. Do you think I have a coherent argument here? Am I engaging well with the literature? And perhaps if your supervisors asked you to look at a particular author, you can ask them, what's the importance of the work of the author? Ask them those specific questions. Step 5 is the presentation of the evidence that you have found. You can ask your supervisor, is my argument clear? Is my argument convincing? Does my argument lead to a clear conclusion? Are all of my conclusions supported by evidence? Sometimes students forget to cite, with evidence as well. And then at the top level of the hierarchy. So this is, this level requires significant academic ability, and really it strongly reflects the qualities of doctoral level scholarship. So it's your contribution to theory and knowledge. And also, guys, really importantly, it's how novel is your contribution, because that's the ultimate goal of doing an HDR, higher degree research degree. Ask questions here. Are there alternative interpretations? Is there a critical assessment of the methodology? Is there a deep understanding of the limits of the evidence? Blah, blah, blah. Think about exactly what it is. So hopefully these questions can help you, or this framework can help you to ask those specific questions. All right, so students often say to me, my supervisor doesn't read it, my supervisor's too busy. In contrast, supervisors say to me, I get really, direct messages and, they're very abrupt. Sometimes there's no dear. I get them as well sometimes from students. Where's the Zoom link for today's session? There's no, dear Tasha, good morning, Tasha. It's just direct as well. Please remember, be polite. Supervisors are busy. I think this is my mother's parenting coming through here. Please be polite. Ask for clear requests. Please remember, even though we develop relationships with our supervisors, we still need to maintain professionalism. So your emails, polite and professional. It's just a reminder. Okay, that's probably more coming from me. Something else that we can do to get those specific examples is ask for exemplars. I also, on Monday, I stressed to the supervisors, have a bank of exemplars available. I have a student in a one-to-one capacity at the moment. She's doing her stage 2, and the documents needs a lot of work. The supervisor, if you've had a supervisor who's been around, they should be able to provide some exemplars. Exemplars are great. They highlight quality work, but they can also highlight poor style. So that's good. The reason that I love exemplars, and Kerry and I use exemplars and have exemplars as well, if you're in need of any, they reduce anxiety for you, because you can figure out what is expected. Okay. What do I have here? They result in significant improvement. As I said, they distinguish between poor work and quality work. And they help you to harness your capability to make academic judgments. I know when I was doing my Ayres log, I was stressed doing that. I really wanted an exemplar. So I was able to seek that out through my peers. So I do know they just make you feel better. They help you to check the structure, presentation, and organization as well. I'll ask you in the chat, how many of you here today have not read your supervisor's thesis? Let me know if you haven't. So yes means I have not read. Yeah, it's actually quite surprising. Supervisors, they often they'll say, oh, I'm a dinosaur, it's a long time ago, but still it's nice to be able to see it. And if you don't read your supervisor's thesis, you could read some of their other students' theses as well. And it's a really good guide for you. When a supervisor does recommend some writing to you, again, we want those specific questions. Which chapter do you want me to read? Is there a particular section? Is it good? Is it bad? Is there something that you want me to look at? Tell me why you're recommending it. Is it because of the organization? Is it the content? Is it the literature? Ask them why they're recommending it as well. There's a nice quote there. So not only asking them, again, you can seek out and find example theses as well. QUT has this repository, QUT ePrints. It goes even into a deeper search here. So you can narrow it to title, authors, and so on. And it can be time consuming. That's why if your supervisor does have a bank of resources for you, it's probably better and easier for you to use that. Okay, so moving along to when. When should we ask for feedback? The answer is the sooner, the better. I recommend that you show your work early and you show your work often. Sometimes students will say, oh, it's not ready. I'm not ready yet to share it. They'll even say that to me in a one-to-one. Oh, it's not ready yet. If you hold on to your writing, you become attached to it, and feedback might be more difficult if you become attached to it. So if you send off a draft earlier, there's less emotional investment. And perhaps you're not as devastated if you get some feedback, we don't need this or what have you. So yes. And as you're waiting, I think I wanted to say here, while you're waiting, make sure you're still doing things. Sometimes it's just, oh, I'm waiting for my supervisor's feedback. So, my study stops. You can be doing other things as well. You can be organizing your folders. You can be doing some more reading. So consider what you're doing while you're waiting as well. Okay, so that's the when. This is why. And I was in a bit of a crazy mood when I made this slide. I've used a chicken crossing the road because in English, we say, why did the chicken cross the road? So I was just in a funny mood when I created this slide. Okay, why do we ask for feedback? Well, as I said to you at the start, feedback is inevitable. You need feedback to improve the quality of your writing. It will help you grow. And I don't know if any of you out there agree with me, but sometimes if you get some negative feedback or some feedback on something and your first reaction is, oh my God, he told me not to do that, or I wasn't. But then later, when you look at it again, you actually are really grateful for that feedback as well. So you are growing as a researcher in this whole bumpy ride of candidature. Feedback can help you examine, strengthen your ideas. It can highlight weaknesses in models and progress your knowledge. Okay, good. And Aaron's commenting here that coming back to feedback helps as well. Absolutely. All right. Responding to feedback. So we can develop processes. We'll be talking about developing a process, how to manage difficult feedback, and also building resilience. So when we get feedback, written feedback as well, what we could do, and I've mentioned this to your supervisors, ask your students to do this. So you can make a table. This is what happens when you finish. The examiner will give you a report and you are required to make a table. If you want to start using this just in your everyday feedback with your supervisors, it's completely fine and it's very efficient. You put the feedback on the left and then you put your response on the right. It can really help you to find that specific, get that specific feedback that you want as well. Something else that you can do, and I don't know if you use this or not, is the simple reply option in Word. As I said to you at the start, if you're halfway through and you're thinking, oh, it's too late now, it's never too late. Have a discussion with your supervisor and say, moving forward, I went to this workshop and the educator said, you could be using this reply. This is what I would like to do from now on. Okay, something like that. Yeah, and the comments in Word as well is really useful. Something else I want you to consider today is this. So I did this for the supervisor workshop. I did a lot of reading about the type of feedback that supervisors give. So this slide again is taken from the supervisor workshop I delivered on Monday. And I said to your supervisors, I want you to consider the type of written feedback that you're giving your student. Is your feedback referential, which is, talking about editing and organizing and content? Is it directive, suggesting, questioning, instructing, or is it expressive, praising your student, criticizing or giving their opinion? So what I want you to do as well is to observe the type of feedback your supervisors are giving. It's quite interesting. This is a great article by Strack and Kumar. And I can send a link with the article as well in my follow-up email. And Kumar was one of the authors, talked about his own experience as a student and said, his supervisor really used a lot of expressive feedback in the feedback that I don't know if it was a man or woman gave to Kumar. I think it's a Vijay Kumar. And now as a supervisor, he feels that this type of feedback really helped him throughout his candidature. So as a supervisor, he also does a lot of it. Criticism isn't necessarily a bad thing. Critiquing isn't bad. But I reminded your supervisors on Monday, positive feedback is really powerful. If a supervisor writes, this is a great sentence, or you've used a lot of work here, well done. Oh, I've just realized I've put that down at the bottom. There we go. Hopefully you can see that now, Stracken Kumar. I guess I just want to say to you, watch the kind of feedback that your supervisors are giving, and then maybe you can talk to them about that. If you want more directive feedback, you could ask them, could you give me some more directive feedback? So just, reflect on this when you look at the feedback you're given. I also want to say to you, some feedback that you give isn't always something that you need to go off straight away and change it. Like I said, there's different types of feedback. Maybe we can differentiate by talking instructions and comments. So our comments are changes that you might like to make or you could make, whereas instructions or revisions are that you have to make. So just don't feel like anytime a supervisor says, oh, maybe you could change this section, that doesn't mean you have to go and change the entire section. It means you need to have a conversation and think about the type of feedback that you're getting. Clarify your supervisor's meaning. So, and again, it comes back to that specific feedback from your supervisor as well. If your supervisor says this needs work, you're going to go into panic. Oh my God, this whole section needs work. The whole thesis, I can't write. Why am I doing this? It really does explode. So you need to say, which part do you think needs more work? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. It's the same with the okay. Okay is such a terrible word because it could be, it's okay. Or, oh, okay, we'll come back and deal with this later. Or, okay, good job. So I always say, to the supervisor, clarify what okay actually means as well. So sometimes we might get that difficult feedback, and if a supervisor should never say this is rubbish, but I have heard it happen before. It's heartbreaking and it's really hard to listen to and to know what to do. But I want to stress to you, leave your emotions at the door if you can. If you know that it's an early draft and it's not that good, if you know that the person you're giving the feedback does give harsh feedback, then don't show that early draft. Something else that you could do is be ready for harsh criticism. And then again, before you open the document and read it, just be clear about what your expectations are as well. So it may not be you, it may be their style. Okay, so think about that. I do acknowledge though that it can hurt. So I guess I want to say to you, read the feedback. Maybe what you could do is ask somebody else to read the feedback as well to see if you're really, emotional about it, because it's happened in the past. I'm saying to you today, it's okay to have a cry. It's okay to have a little tantrum. Once you do that, you really need to calm down. Take some time if you need time. Have some distance from the feedback and the emotion of it as well. But at some point, you do need to re-engage. And when you do re-engage, you address the feedback objectively. Don't take too long because you'll forget, the supervisor will forget as well. So we do always need to address feedback quite quickly. And part of this journey is building resilience. Knowing when to, resilience basically means to recover quickly from difficulties and to have that toughness. They often talk about people in this HDR journey as needing grit, because it's not a fast, short race. It's a long 3, 4, 5, 6 year race. And so you need that grit and determination. So you need that resilience as well. So understand we are all going through that. Some people have wonderful relationships with supervisors and get wonderful feedback, but that's not the case for everyone. So we do need to understand everyone's going through it and build resilience. I'd also like to remind you that we all do have different styles of learning, of working, and even of communicating. Sometimes when different styles come up against each other, there can be misunderstandings, there can be frustration, and it can lead to conflict. Very recently, my team, actually, we had a team building day, and we had someone come along and they introduced us to the idea of color spectrums. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a way of profiling personalities. It's based on Myers-Briggs Typology Inventory, MBTI. And very quickly, I'll just tell you this because I thought it was so wonderful for our team. There's 4 main colors. And what we had to do is we had to do a self-definition of our brightest color to confirm our identity, and that profiled ourselves. So red is the doer, blue is the carer, yellow is the organizer, and green is the thinker. What happened? The outcome showed us that, oh, this person has a different way of communicating and working. And that difference in her, I can value that. And we're not the same. And it was actually a profound moment when I went, oh, she's yellow, I'm more blue, and it was just a really great way. And it was a reminder, like we all know that, but we all do have different ways of communicating, and just be aware of that. And I did mention that to your supervisors as well. And I also have had a situation where I've had a student, confide in me in a one-to-one session that she hadn't seen her child in a long time due to COVID. And and her supervisor was putting pressure on her to get some work done, but she was really stressed. And I said, oh, did you explain to your supervisor? And she said, oh, he doesn't know. And so I use this anecdote with the supervisor to say, there may be things that you don't know about your student, especially in the world we're living in right now. And likewise, there may be things going on in your supervisor's lives that you don't know. And then because of the professional, side of the relationship, they don't want to share with you. So we do need to remember we are human. Your supervisors are human as well. Okay, so that's a lot of me talking. I'm going to stop now and give you that opportunity to meet each other. We have 10 people here, so I might do a couple of breakout rooms. I'll let the Zoom gods organize you. And the basic question is, it's just an opportunity for you to meet who are you, what's your topic, and then just talk about feedback. Please de-identify if you can. If you're going to say anything, de-identify your supervisor's names or any situations that have happened to you or a friend, and maybe just have a chat to each other. How do you ask for feedback? How do you respond to feedback? Okay, so we'll just do this for a little over around 10 minutes. So we'll come back just after 11. Again, if you're in your pajamas and you don't want anyone to see you, that's fine. Keep your video off. If you're just wanting to have a 10-minute break, stretch, go to make a cup of tea, that's fine as well. You can stay in the lobby with me. But I'll do this now and I'll see you guys soon. I hope you do enjoy the opportunity to connect. All right, here we go. If I have to reassign you, please be patient. All right, see you soon. Let's go back to this slide again, just to capture that. Avoid an email conversation. Set it up during the meeting as well. And then after your meetings, what your job is to reflect, rethink, revise, and rewrite, the 4 R's. You can send notes, send the minutes of the meeting to the supervisor. They may not read it, but at least it's there. There's an email trail for you. Confirm if the feedback is a suggestion or a requirement. Remember, we talked about all those different types of feedbacks. Go through your notes, formulate your next steps. What do you have to do next? Address any concerns right away, so you're not staying up at night, sleepless nights wondering, and file everything. This was a famous quote by Dwight Eisenhower. I've always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. Our plans don't always go according to what we had hoped. There's lots of reasons for delays that are beyond our control. Like, for example, an experiment might go wrong, the interviews might be rescheduled, field trips may take longer, but we still need to plan. Okay, so it's really important. I might offer you an opportunity to let me know in the chat if there's anything that you do before, during or after a meeting that I can add to my list. Please feel free to do that as I keep talking. And just the final tips for today, I want to show you this. Have you heard of TNT? I'm sure you've all heard of TNT. Well, TNT is not what you think it is. TNT is the next thing. Again, this is a Think Well material where I found this. Someone used the Tour de France as an analogy to describe the next thing, and I'm going to do that with you, the people who are left here today. So I want you to imagine when the cyclists in the Tour de France are climbing up those huge mountains in the Alps, have a look. The riders never look right to the top. If they looked all the way to the top, they're going to give up because the task just seems too hard. What they're doing is they're looking at the next corner, or they're looking at the wheel in front of them. And that's what you need to do as well. So as a research student, you're reading, you have this huge data set. Sometimes it's just impossible. It feels insurmountable. It's too much. What you need to do is just focus on the next thing, the TNT. So if you look at the picture, you can see that the funnel goes from small to micro to even nano. A micro step might be just adding one more paragraph to your literature review. If you think, oh my God, I can't even do that right now. So if this micro step is too big, then you can take a nano step. And that might just be finding the most recent version of your document. That it might sound like really small, but sometimes that just will help you get ready. So think of these nano steps, micro steps, because they really do work. It will stop you from being overwhelmed and get you, acting upon things. Okay, so I also want to remind you of the skill of managing up. As I said to you at the start, your supervisor is not there to care and maintain your relationship. That's your job. And your job is a skill. It's called managing up. So there's 3 things. You anticipate a problem, you communicate and mitigate the problem, and you provide solutions and options. So this is what you need to say. Here's the problem that I can see. These are the actions I've taken to mitigate it. Here are the solutions I propose to fix it. And then here's how we can keep it from happening in the future. I trust me, your supervisors will be happy that you are managing up this, you're taking on this skill. Another tip I want to leave you with today is that students who have doubts and insecurities about their quality, it's common, it's normal. What you do is you read books, you talk to each other like you've just had this wonderful chat. You come to our writing circles and workshops, you come along to the lounge, for example. It's a place to do focused writing. Come along to the peer feedback sessions, which we have as well. Not many universities have these offerings for you. The lounge, I know that Michael comes sometimes and Aaron's been. It's a place for you to do focused writing. I use the Pomodoro timer and we sit there and we write, but we also get a chance to chat and connect with each other and talk about topics related to you guys. Peer feedback sessions, they're run by Kerry. This is an opportunity for you to share your writing with your peers. Kerry's got a really great setup for you to do that. So I encourage you to come along to them as well. And we'll be having both the lounge and peer feedback sessions in 2023. I have some secrets for you. Number one, it's your job to make sure you get the supervision you need. Remember all that specific detail I told you about. Write and show as you go. Be realistic. Doesn't have to be perfect. I have one of my colleagues who continually goes back and changes her thesis, even though she did it several years ago. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to be finished. Say no to distractions, which is where the Pomodoro timer can really help you, because you focus for 25 minutes. Remember as well that doing this it's like a job. You need to have regular hours and a plan. You need to be accountable. You don't have to do everything by yourself. You're so lucky to have the GRED team. We're here to help you. And the final secret is you can do it. You can do it. I can do it. We can do it. Okay, it's 90% persistence and that grit that I was talking to you about. We have modules, self-paced modules, which can help you as well to get that project completed. I'll pass on links to that. We also have these Gantt charts. They're really useful. There's lots of free applications available as well, like Asana and Trello. They can help with goal setting, timetabling, milestones, blah, blah, blah. If this is the type of person you are, or this is what you need, then please use it. I also want to remind you, if you need extra support or information, contact the HDR team. They're so helpful. We also have so much support for you here, and I've got all these clickable links for you. QT Counselling, Medical Centre. Don't forget, in counselling, all conversations are confidential. Please use them. I've even got more links for you if you do need even further support. All, again, clickable links for you here. And I just want to remind you, I feel like the year's finishing up, but it isn't yet. We still do have lots of things happening. So Kerry's running a research proposal writing strategies workshop next Tuesday. And then the 5th and the 11th is when the lounges is on. Then we have a peer feedback session on the 12th. And then there's writing your methodology on the Thursday, the 13th. So we're almost at the end now. I am happy to stick around and chat to you, but I've just put a little link to a survey. Thank you in advance for filling it out. It's really helpful for us to get some feedback to know what we're doing right or how we could improve. So if you could kindly click on that link, there's just a few questions. I think there's 3 or 4 questions. I'll be sending these slides to you, but again, I'm happy to stick around for a Q&A if you'd like. I've written a little list here to remind me of things that I promised to send you, and keep in touch. And thanks for coming today. Unfortunately, there wasn't a large group of people here, but it's still an opportunity for you to connect with some people. So thanks again, everyone, for being here. And I'm going to stop talking. And if anyone wants to ask any questions, I'm happy to answer. Thanks, Wanjiru. Thanks, Aaron. Awesome. Thanks, Brooke.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of things. There are a lot of problems with Gardens Point and Kelvin Grove Medical Centre at the moment. I had my counselling sessions just abruptly stopped, and yeah, they're still sorting it out, I believe. So getting, just Oh, thanks, Aaron.